So yeah, so get comfortable and just take a few breaths together. Opening to the prana, the life force energy. And now just being in silence for a moment or two. And actually put on your mute if you're able to, so that you don't have the background. Ah. And opening to our larger intention for this group. And even the intention beyond where we may be conscious of the intention. And how that intention connects with our individual deeper purpose. And connecting with this heart resonance work and play that we have been immersed in. And what is seeking to emerge at this time in us. And feel the loving embrace of all of this. And now returning back to our circle. So, oops. So let me see, where's a good place to start? I don't know if I should text, maybe I should text Shelley. Shelley.
June, where is it you live? Oh, you're on mute.
Near San Francisco, about a half hour south of San Francisco.
Yeah, Tiburon area, or where's?
Lower than Tiburon. Tiburon is actually above. I'm going to change the light here. Tiburon is actually above where I am.
So more like South Salito. I used to live in South Salito.
Yeah. No, I'm still an hour south of South Salito.
Oh,
by Silicon Valley.
okay. More towards San Jose.
Yeah, actually in San Jose. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So been here for
You just think people don't know where San Jose is? Is that
yeah.
right? Yeah, that's why I always say I live in Tucson because I actually live in Sahuarita, which is just south, about 25 miles. But nobody.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm not sure I'm glad I'm living here because just the traffic and the amount of people is just incredible. But most of my family's here, so here's where I will be until they decide to go somewhere else. And
Hopefully they won't, or at
yeah,
least not here.
so, but it's an expensive place to live as well. But you can't beat until this crazy winter. You really can't beat the weather. It's absolutely incredible.
Nice. Nice.
All of us in the Southwest are nodding our heads.
No, I'm happy where I am, though I could use a little more vegetation. But
Where exactly are you, Henry?
I'm in Santa Fe. New
Oh, that's
Mexico.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a relatively fair amount of rain these past few months, or well, for Santa Fe. So maybe we'll get a little more vegetation.
Yeah, it's just all green and beautiful. All of the fruit trees are out, and mountains are all green. It's really a beautiful time of the year here.
So let me see. I have a few things on the agenda. Let me see. I did interview DiNahMa. So if you,
I'm sorry, what was the last you said? It didn't quite come out.
I did interview DiNahMa
Oh,
a few days ago. So if you have a chance, you might check that out.
Yeah, I watched that last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. And it's interesting in the interviews, maybe I mentioned that to you, June. It feels like I'm receiving more than the content of what people are sharing. There feels like there's a transmission, and it's helping me in my articulation, or at least considering all the different pieces that
Right.
resonance.
And all three of them are very, very different. Bring out different aspects, bring out different intensities. It's just quite different.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying that. Let me see. So Shelley texted me back that her mom called and had to go. I guess she had to go. So it looks like she won't be here. So we'll see where we're going. So June and I checked out a little with sound a week ago. And I guess Shelley's initial response was that to maybe share or do something like that in an experimental session, which we'd have to find a good time, and maybe that could connect with my suggestion or possibility of having another time during the week that is a heart resonance, but it's more, there is a little more silence. So that we're connecting with the heart resonance energy, or at least how I see it now, we're connecting with the heart resonance energy, but we're not spending as much time speaking, but we're kind of carrying that field. So anyway, that's one possibility. Also, what Shelley said, and on Monday for the Resonance Council meeting, we'll probably get more into that, but maybe there'll be a possibility for bringing sound in for the week-long Love Lives Here that mentioned. Were you here when I mentioned the dates? Yes. June. Yeah. So that's a little bit of an update. What else? I wanted to speak with Shelley. I mean, she was speaking about documents and maybe videos on different parts. So when she's here, I wanted to at least begin to focus on one or two areas to really get clear on, just pick one at a time. But so I did also, let me pull up on the share screen, and I sent you, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It was a little bit of a late, let me see, at that, hold on, share screen. There it is. So can you see, uh-oh. I think that's just a delivery. So you can see that document, yes?
Yes.
So anyway, I kind of expanded on the suggestions that we're using currently for the Monday heart resonance circles, because I didn't feel we didn't fully bring together all of them. So this is still in process, and mainly just for our Resonance Council for right now. But I kind of expanded on at least the different topics. So as we consider writing about or documents, that this might give kind of a fuller range of what's contained within those parts. So some of them might take a little more explanation. I kind of added some of my own personal things as well, but I probably have expressed it before. So anyway, and what Shelley sent out yesterday about, and maybe you haven't opened that yet, about our Monday connection, was she was suggesting that this coming month of April, we focus on the field. I think it's better to stay with emergence. So if Shelley was here, we might have a conversation, partly because I try to get into coherence with the seasons, with what's happening in the outer seasons. And she suggested we focus on the field, but I think when we're in the sign of Aries at the beginning of spring, which is a fire sign, which is a cardinal sign, that there is a fire energy. So anyway, I don't necessarily have to. Oh, how can I move this down? So I will speak with her afterwards, but I think emergence is better, and she suggested the field. I think the field is much better for May when we're in the sign of Taurus. So which is an earth sign which relates to the field. But anyway, I don't necessarily have to, and I'm kind of looking as well to the other different aspects, and I have a different order than what Shelley put, to try to connect them, like having the pause during the sign of Capricorn or January. If we do this more, because we have that time of stillness. So and having the one on body wisdom almost relate potentially to September or the sign of Virgo. But anyway, do you have any thoughts related to this part?
Well, I like the idea of, of having a structure that fits, such as you're speaking about, speaks to the way things unfold in the horoscope and so on and so forth, just in the sense of the dance that creates and the connections it creates to what's going on, whereas just picking a subject and putting it in each time, it may be great subjects, and but somehow for me the flow of connecting it to natural movement on the earth is fits more what I like to do.
Yeah. So I agree, and I somewhat use Rudolf Steiner. Was that a cousin of yours, June?
And I wish. I'm often asked that question.
Yeah, okay. So Rudolf Steiner speaks about that through the seasons, the movement of the seasons, we go through different soul moods. And he actually suggested that if we live in a climate where we do have the 4 seasons, that is good on a soul level. Mm. But you experience, with winter, especially in February, getting into that, the longing, soul longing for this awakening. And so what you just expressed, June, and what I'm sensing too, that if we go into we're connected with the soul mood of what is happening inside us with the seasons, then it's more in sync, it's more coherent. So anyway, but I'll speak with Shelley separately to express that.
What about you, Ariana?
Well, I don't do a lot with astrology, I should say, but I do feel more the movement of the moon. So I would go along with what you're saying with if the field represents to you the more of the Taurus energy. Is that what it was?
And it's also the month of Mother's Day, which for me sometimes I connect the field. Well, if it's the field of love or if it's the beloved, that we can make an association of, especially on the Monday after Mother's Day. There can be a link. But anyway,
when you say the moon, Oriana, how would you see that working?
I hadn't even considered putting it into this format. So it's more of a personal knowing for me. I would say more that the field, to me, is more of the matra, the matrix, which is all the feminine, where mother originates, that which holds all possibility, as a womb holds the developing embryo. Mm-hmm. And so I think the Mother's Day idea of introducing the field as that. And it's Joseph Chilton Pierce who speaks to, in The Magical Child, speaks to the nature of the mantra. Let me see. Oops. Yeah. Kicking my cords out here. Oops, yeah.
So anyway, I will bring this to Shelley. I mean, I was thinking, even the topic of heart resonance, which was the first one, we could do that in February, which is the sign of, which is Valentine's Day, and people connect that with love, or actually there's Sound Healing Day that at least Jonathan Goldman.
Well, I really resonate with what you said, Oriana, about the moon, because I am also extremely tied to the moon, and so I can certainly see that as well. When I said tied to a structure, a flowing, I definitely meant a flowing structure, because I don't like structure as such.
That's the thing you must.
So, but tying it in the way you're talking about is still, just finding a flow that goes around with, if you started with the moon here, where, looking at where that would, how you would see that taking us, or are you talking about taking each month as a particular by itself subject?
Well, it would be possible to do like what each month the moon is the hunter moon, or the I can't think of the names that they put on it, so that there's always some theme about the moon, and then each quarter of the moon has an influence. And since our calendar doesn't sync with our natural rhythm, it seems to me to be a way in which we could resync with the field that is in alignment with the moon. We're not, right? We meaning the Gregorian calendar, and even you were mentioning sound day, our frequencies aren't attuned to the solfeggio frequencies of the natural order of.
As you're talking, what jumped up for me was taking all the aspects of the moon, the stars, the sun, the different fields out there.
Oh yeah, I got chills.
Way to use that over a period of time.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm not real astrology as much as astronomy, so right. I go to the science. It's a science in me. But our bodies, our biophysics, are following this natural order of the rhythm, just as we followed it 9 months in utero. That's the influences that we felt as the embryo developed. So that's the natural order of it. And to bring back in some awareness of what the moon is doing, seems that the underlying rhythm would become more noticeable.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm doing and on about, excuse me, is all my exploration in biochemistry and quantum physics has been to find this underlying rhythm of the unfurling embryo, right? So from a one-celled organism, we go through our entire evolutionary cycle in the womb to create a multi-celled organism. And that knowing of our evolution is encoded in this time code, these time crystals in the mitochondria. It's only inherited through the mother, and it doesn't interact with our nuclear DNA that you inherit from your mother and father, our 46 chromosomes. So the mitochondrial DNA is completely separate. And it evolves from the archaea, the oldest life form on this planet. The archaea, one-celled organisms that are about, I have to look up the statistics, there's something between 30 to 60% of the biomass of the planet is archaea, these one-celled organisms floating in the ocean. And they evolved to bacteria that evolved to our mitochondria. They also evolved to chloroplasts. So it's what we have in common with all other life forms. And they're in sync with the natural order of the world. Right? So that's that natural order of the lunar cycles, the sun cycles, the magnetic fields, everything is synced to that, and they're communicating through this rhythmic pulsing. So that's what I'm teaching others how to find and discover that for themselves. You have to feel it internally.
Right. Well, that just feeling into what you're saying and thinking about it is part of that the word structure I used, one that the body naturally can follow and is a part of, so that as we move from place to place, it's because our rhythms are naturally moving from place to place. So it's not like we have to somehow connect with this subject we're now on. We are in it, and so we can identify with it in a much easier way. Now, I don't know if it works for males that same way in terms of how they experience that, but I know that for most of us females, that natural rhythm is a really important part of ourselves, and we can just slip into it naturally when it matches, when what we're doing matches, you know, what the field is doing. And so anyway, what you're saying, whether it be around whatever natural rhythms it's around, but as you talked about it, that really felt comfortable as well. So it's another choice, I think, to really look at.
Yeah, well, as we're talking about looking at different aspects of, you know, honing in and just being aware of it, that being aware of the lunar cycle, I mean, you have a perfect start of the week, and to just recognize that our linear, you know, boxed calendar each week is a line, that's not the natural order of things. And to just reflect that, oh, the moon is here now. And just that awareness that we can bring to others, that we notice, oh, when's the full moon? Oh, it's today. Oh, wow. And, or it's a half moon. Today is a half moon where the cycle is perfectly balanced between light and dark.
Or just reflecting on the fact that the moon changes. It's constantly in motion of changing. And so the flexibility and the ability of us as an aspect of that moon that can change shape and work from all these different ways and places, and we're not stuck, we're not static. You know, my power song is about the moon being able to change its shape constantly, and so again, that it just feels, there's something about that draw for me that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
And how, this is beautiful, and how does this all connect to this moment and even to the resonant field? So when we're here, this is a co-creation that's happening right now from a piece, from a seed that came through, that may help to deepen even our connection to resonance, to one another and to the larger field. So anyway, I'm kind of putting that in and kind of opening to the heart resonance, or the resonance that is created by what you're saying in the biology, in nature, in life, and in the formation of the cycle, maybe going through the 9 months, that as Rudolf Steiner says, recapitulates the story of creation. So
I definitely think we we can use just use the theme or another similar kind of theme. It would fit into the cycle of the months and of the years and of everything, in the sense that it's natural. We don't have to create a connection. It's there. And yes, we have to talk about the connection, but it's not something you have to think about or grasp. It's just a natural feeling. I mean, if you even took just nature itself and the earth and the place of emergence, the place of blossoming, the place of harvest, the place of rest, you know, all of those things are just natural. And that's just mainly what I'm thinking about. Whatever form we use, I would like to see it as something that people check in and go, oh yeah, okay. You know.
Yeah, right. And because it is a universal, you know, the moon is the moon around the world. And even though the phases may be slightly different timing-wise, they're still being experienced the same moon.
Mm-hmm.
And as this becomes more of a global call, that will be an important anchoring point. And because it's a universal experience with all humankind throughout historically, you know, that we can bring forward our ancient knowing along with it, and that there is something about the way in which we tell time that has gotten us askew from our more natural rhythm, like June was saying. And I'm not sure that it's women that have a natural cycle that allows us to have that more ordering to it. But even with all the birth control, it's gotten away from,
Yes, gotten fouled up.
from the natural flow and rhythm of things. And men are perfectly capable of doing it. It's just attending to it, putting some attention and awareness. And that's really what all that I think is required in the just notice. Oh, it's a half moon today. How does that energy affect us as we come together in the field? Oh, light and dark, and it's a rising moon, so we're moving into that beginning place of new things, new ideas, and that there's a flow to that creativity that is part of the whole world being in that moment of creativity and new experience. So it feels like if we just brought that into awareness with each meeting and just made a note of this is where we are in that calendar, that is our lunar calendar, our lunar awareness.
And also, how do those aspects of the moon or whatever it is we're working with work with the aspects of the four-chambered heart? In other words, the heart waxes and wanes and gets full and gets empty. It's how do we help and encourage people to work with their heart to overcome the feelings of half empty instead of half full, and clear and open rather than closed or confused. They're just different aspects of how you can tie the aspects of the heart to almost anything that we're...
Yeah, well, the heart as the embryo is conceived, so 29 days after conception, the heart, the embryo is formed around the heart, and the few cells within the heart, they're called pacer cells, and they begin to sporadically pulse or to contract, and that's the mitochondria that's contracting at that time, and then they syncopate, ba-bum, 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 and that becomes the heartbeat, following a cycle of the moon, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. So if we consider that we're like the pacer cells and follow the moon in that cycle, where are we within it? What does it feel like? How do we pulse? How do we syncopate? And I hadn't thought of the 4 chambers quite like the 4 phases of the moon, but yeah, that might be a way to look at it as well. And I think, bringing in suggestions of what others have said as far as what the phases of the moon mean, or it's planting time now in the spring. It's the planting moon, and as opposed to the harvest moon.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that doesn't hold for the Australians. So to some extent, it's really more of a personal, how does this phase of the moon, what's it calling forth from you? What are you noticing? So that you really come back to paying attention personally to this larger rhythmic calling forth the field that's wanting us to emerge into it.
I think most people, and I may be very wrong, but I think most people, when they come to a call like this, if they're not in it all the time, need guidance in terms of, a subject matter or a laying down of the field, so that they can go, oh, I know how to say something about this, rather than trying to understand and be there when they don't have that sense. So whatever it is we decide on, it feels as though it needs to just be a natural place people can slip into and begin to let it speak inside, so that it can then be spoken out. Because I think if it starts in the body instead of the head, that's that natural earth, especially if we're talking about earth. But in any case, for myself, if I can take a scientific experiment and not understand it up here, but if I stand in the middle of it and imagine myself being it, all of a sudden I have an understanding of it. And so for me, that physicalness of taking it into my being is really important.
That's a good point. And really that's what I was referring to, as well as really paying attention, noticing how does it affect you? What does your energy feel like with the rising of the full moon or the new moon? What is it that you're feeling called forth?
Yeah. And our meditations, our beginning resonations can speak to each one of these things, as rather than just be a beautiful resonation. If it ties into the flavor of what that particular day and that meeting is about, it also helps people to anchor in and be there as soon as the resonation is over.
So, a couple things.
Okay.
We sidestepped you. I'm sorry, Henry.
No, that's okay. I'm kind of following along. I mean, it seems like what you're saying is opening to more deeply to what is on the many different levels that affects us, and we are divine co-creators within that. That even today, of opening to what emerged here in our conversation, is kind of opening to that deeper field. We're opening doorways to the larger house or the mansions. I'm not sure if I have the right metaphor, the many mansions that are different parts of us that go into the greater wholeness that we speak about a lot, and the deeper understandings of where we, I feel like we have entered into and are immersed in right now by each person's contribution, the larger ocean of life. So a couple things related to that. I mean, I was just really reading related to the Damanhur community, and they see themselves or open to themselves as being more androgynous, of having both the masculine and the feminine. So it's kind of like inviting that. Mm-hmm. You know, that a lot of these distinctions have come about because of just our culture, and I'm not supposed to do that, or but anyway, so that's what that called in me of what you were expressing earlier. And the last part, I guess it was kind of a quote that I read, was saying that being is truth.
Being is true? Being
is truth. This is actually a quote from the founder of the Damanhur community. I don't know if he was saying it in a paper, you know, but being itself. And it feels like we are entering into that when we open to what's happening in nature, when we open to what's happening into the nature in our bodies. And that greater mystery. So that's what came in for me in the conversation. Let me see. And it's interesting, you know, I mean, we diverged a little bit, but what we're speaking about is articulation. So it's actually a part of that, you know, when we come to these larger understandings of where each of us is coming from, where we travel daily, inwardly and outwardly, we open to the greater richness of what we each have to share. We invite and value, you know, as part of the good of the whole, we value each person and each being and the contribution, because, you know, as I've said before, that we each are different, you know, that you, both of you, are different aspects of a part of me. So anyway, I'm not sure if I'm getting too far out, but I'm kind of following along on our journey on this brick road.
I just need to say that I am going to have to leave at 10. I had an emergency at work and I put it off until 10, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to.
Yeah, I have to leave pretty much right about then too. So.
Yeah, so that's perfect. If you have any other thoughts or ways to you know, I guess a part of this group is just learning ways to articulate, and it may be, you know, an articulation of our inner journeys or where we're coming from. That is important, that I feel as well, it enriches us. You know, it's like where we may learn more about the outer stories, but also we're learning about the inner stories of where we are viewing and coming from on our journey. So it's really, feels really valuable as well. So any other thoughts? I'm actually going to be away, well, it won't affect this. I'm going to be away the 3rd to the 9th and also the last week in April. But anyway, so any other thoughts of what related to heart resonance or, one last thing. June, you spoke about how we walk in and out of different realities, our last meeting. Mm-hmm. And I didn't fully understand that, so I'm not going to ask you that now because we just have a couple minutes left. But I'm just interesting because I didn't really think of it in that way. But that's kind of a beautiful insight that new people that come on may not understand that or may not be able to do that, and to take that into consideration. So that'll be a topic, you know, I want to connect with you about that again.
Sure.
At some point. Anyone else with any thoughts?
Well, these are just a few last thoughts on having a topic each time for the Monday calls. Like, I think having the topics like what you identified for the Love Lives Here at each call, because they're right together. But for the weekly calls, to have less emphasis on a topic that you have to think about and more on the rhythm of unfolding and unfurling in life, that because the field isn't something we create when we get together, the field's always here. It's the water we swim in. It's just the focus of attention where we become aware of it, and the more aware of it we become, the more we feel this communication, and we're communicating with each other through it, with it, and what is communicating with us becomes more available.
Good. And that's partly why I created more potential topics or directions than was listed, and to get more freedom, and as well to really open to what is emerging in each of the times. So it sounds like you're saying to give more freedom, in a sense, perhaps.
Well, yeah, I'm just more awareness of the rhythms, I think, is really what both June and I at least are saying, is the natural rhythm, the energy itself. And it's not a conceptual thing. There's only a certain amount where you can point someone in the direction. Like June was saying, those that enter need some kind of structure they can feel comfortable enough in to be able to really feel into the field. And so I see both things happening. There's some structure, but then there's this, oh yeah, this is what we're all talking about. We're all in the same rhythm. And if we have a pinpoint as a North Star that's guiding us, well, the moon, it's the same for everyone. So here it is. That would be my final words on it.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Feels like we did some pretty deep exploring around a different way to create a field, and I feel good about it. So thank you both very much.
Yeah, I just want to say quickly too that I just am feeling exhilarated by the idea of what if we did really focus, just even if it were a few moments of just an awareness on what the phase of the moon is with each of the Monday calls, so that we became more aware of that rhythm, that we're not that Gregorian calendar. We really are in the natural rhythm, and because all of life is in that natural rhythm of the field, humans are the only ones that have taken themselves out of sync.
Yeah.
So what is it to feel in sync with all of life that goes by the rhythms of the moon and the rhythms of the sun and the rhythms of the season?
It helps people to identify where they're fighting the rhythm and what's going on, rather than being with it. So it's that ability to have a better sense of where you are, because you're feeling the the movement or the resistance or the letting go into that field.
Yeah, and the ebb and flow of the heart, as you were saying. Yeah.
Beautiful. And let's just close again with the silence. So let's open to that field that we are immersed in now, and especially what is speaking with us. and has articulated to us. Have a beautiful rest of the day and week, and I guess we'll see each other on Monday.
Mhm.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.